There are moments in history when everything that once felt stable begins to shake, when nations tremble, when systems crack, when the confidence of humanity is tested in ways no one expected. We are living in such a moment. All around us we see uncertainty. We see fear rising in the hearts of people. We see power structures shifting, alliances changing, and the world asking questions it cannot answer. And in the middle of all this noise, there is one truth that must be declared clearly, boldly, without hesitation. God still reigns. Not partially, not temporarily, not conditionally. He reigns completely. But the problem is not that God has stopped reigning. The problem is that humanity has stopped recognizing it. For generations, mankind has built systems, governments, economies, and defenses as if control belonged to them. We have trusted in what we can see, what we can measure, what we can build. And slowly, almost without noticing, we replace dependence on God with confidence in ourselves. We believe that technology could protect us, that wealth could secure us, that power could preserve us. But now the shaking has begun. And when the shaking begins, everything that is not firmly established will reveal its weakness. This is not new. History has always followed this pattern. Empires rise, they expand, they reach a point of apparent invincibility, and then slowly cracks begin to form. Not always from external attack, but from internal fragility. Because no matter how strong something appears on the outside, if the foundation is weak, collapse is inevitable. And the Bible reminds us of this truth again and again. There were kings who believed they were untouchable, nations that thought they would last forever, people who trusted in their own strength instead of God, and every time the result was the same, they fell. Not because God lost control, but because they ignored Him. And today, we are seeing the same pattern unfold. Nations are trembling, leaders are uncertain, people are afraid. But let me ask you something. Has God changed? Has His power diminished? Has His authority been challenged? No. God is not shaken by what shakes the world. While nations rise and fall, He remains the same. While systems collapse, He stands firm. While humanity searches for answers, He is still the answer. But here is the deeper truth. The shaking is not just happening around us, it is happening within us. Because when the external world becomes unstable, it reveals the internal condition of the heart. What are you trusting in? Where is your foundation? Because when everything around you begins to fall apart, the only thing that matters is what you are standing on. Jesus spoke about this clearly. He said there are two types of people: those who build their lives on the rock and those who build on sand. At first, both look the same. Both build, both grow, both appear stable. But the difference is not seen until the storm comes. And when the storm comes, the winds blow, the floods rise, the pressure increases, and suddenly what was hidden becomes visible. The house built on sand collapses, but the one built on the rock stands. We are in a storm right now, not just politically, not just economically, spiritually. And this storm is revealing foundations. It is exposing what people have truly built their lives on. Because it is easy to have faith when everything is stable. It is easy to feel secure when nothing is shaking. But real faith is revealed in the storm. Real trust is proven under pressure. And this is where many people struggle. Because when things begin to fall apart, they ask, where is God? But the real question is not where God is. The real question is, where were you standing before the shaking began? Because God has not moved. He has not changed. He has not abandoned His throne. He still reigns. But many have built their lives far from Him. And now the distance is being felt. This is why the shaking feels so intense. Not because God is absent, but because we have drifted. We have trusted in things that cannot hold us. We have depended on systems that cannot sustain us. We have believed in a sense of control that was never real. And now reality is confronting us. But here is the hope, because even in the shaking, God is not just allowing it, He is calling through it. Every crisis carries a message. Every moment of instability carries an invitation, not to fear, but to return. Because God does not shake things to destroy us. He allows shaking to awaken us, to remind us that our strength is limited, that our control is temporary, that our need for Him is absolute. And this is where transformation begins. Not when everything is perfect, but when everything is uncertain, because uncertainty forces us to look beyond ourselves. It forces us to ask deeper questions. It forces us to confront what truly matters. And ultimately, it leads us back to the only foundation that cannot be shaken, God Himself. But not everyone responds the same way. Some harden their hearts. They try to rebuild the same systems, the same patterns, the same false securities. They refuse to change. And because of that, they remain unstable. But others, they recognize the moment. They understand the message. They humble themselves and they return to faith, return to truth, return to God. And those are the ones who find peace in the middle of chaos. Not because the world has changed, but because their foundation has. This is the difference. The world may continue to shake. Nations may continue to tremble. Systems may continue to fail. But those who are anchored in God will not collapse because their security does not depend on circumstances. It depends on something eternal, something unchanging, something greater than anything happening around them. This is the promise. Not that storms will never come, but that you can stand through them. Not that the world will always be stable, but that you can have stability even when it is not. Not that fear will disappear from the world, but that it does not have to control you. Because when God reigns in your life, everything changes. Your perspective changes. Your priorities change. Your peace changes. You begin to see beyond the moment. You begin to understand that what is happening now is not the end of the story. It is part of a greater plan, a plan that is not limited by human events, a plan that is not disrupted by global crisis, a plan that continues regardless of what happens in the world. And that plan includes you, but it requires a decision. Because you cannot stand on two foundations. You cannot trust in the world and fully trust in God at the same time. At some point, you must choose. And the shaking forces that choice. It reveals what you truly believe. It exposes where your trust really lies. So today, in the middle of uncertainty, in the middle of fear, in the middle of a world that feels unstable, you have an opportunity not just to observe what is happening, but to respond, to examine your life, to ask yourself honestly, what am I standing on? Is it something temporary, something fragile, something that can collapse under pressure? Or is it something eternal, something unshakable, something that will stand no matter what comes? Because one day the shaking will touch every life. No one is exempt. No one is immune. And when that day comes, only one foundation will remain. God still reigns, not just over nations, but over your life. Not just over history, but over your future. And He is calling you right now, not to fear the shaking, but to find your place in Him. Because when nations tremble, God still reigns. And when God reigns, you can stand.